3.16 Solving Quadratic Linear Systems Algebraically by Adrian and Jake. So how to solve, you want to basically set your equations or linear quadratic system equal to y. Use then substitution and set both equations equal to each other. Substitute the equation to make it into a polynomial, and then factor your polynomial and put it in parentheses with x. Set one of your polynomials equal to 0 and find the greatest common factor. Now at the greatest common factor, you want to basically substitute it, or now when you get your x, you want to substitute it back into your original equation and solve for y. So let's look at some examples. So for example 1, we have our equation right up here, which is y equals x minus 7 and y equals x squared minus 7. Basically, you want to set it equal to y, so you want to cancel out these y's and set the equations equal to each other. So that's going to drag down here, and that's going to drag down here. Now with that, you have the 7's on each side, so you want to add this 7 over to this side, and you want to get this equation over here, basically. So you want to subtract all this stuff and bring this side over here. So by adding a 7, you're canceling out that 7, and by subtracting the x, you're left with 0 equals x to the power of 2 minus x. Now, from that, you want to find your GCF, which is going to be x. And if you come all the way up here, you'll want to put your x on the outside of the parentheses with x, in parentheses, x minus 1. And now with that, you want to separate your equation, which is going to be over here, which is x equals 0, and then that equation is going to go over here. But let's focus on number 1 first. So now with your two equations, one is going to be x equals 0. So what you want to do is, since you have one of your x, you want to substitute it back into an original equation. So that's what we do down here. Y equals x minus 7. And because x equals 0, you're just saying y equals 0 minus 7. And that's simply y equals negative 7. And you want to drag your x all the way down here and your newfound y to equal your first point, which is 0, 7. Now on the second equation, basically what you want to do is add your 1 over to the other side, which is then equals x equals 1. And now you want to take another equation down, which is the same equation, and you're going to take it down to here. And that's going to be y equals 1 minus 7. And that's going to simplify to y equals 6. And so if you take your x down here and your y down, then that's going to be the points 1, 6. And that's how to solve. And that's your answers right there.
Alright, this is Adrian now. Alright, we're going to start with example 2. So with our equation, y equals x squared minus 6x plus 3. And then our second equation is going to be 2x equals negative y plus 3. Alright, so basically what you want to do is set these two equations equal to each other, which will come out to be negative 2x plus 3 equals to x squared minus 6 plus 3. So once you get them equal to each other, you add negative 2x plus 3 to both sides, and this will leave you with 0 equals x squared minus 4x. Alright, so now we now that we know that x equals 0, we plug in 0 to one of these equations. So y equals negative 2 times 0, because our x is 0, so you plug it in for this x, plus 3, which gives you y equals 3. And one of your points is going to be 0, 3. And now for your second solution, x equals 4. So what you do for this one is y equals negative 2, and then for the x on this one, you put 4 plus 3, which comes out to be y equals negative 5. So your point is going to be 4, negative 5, and those are your 2 points. Alright, let's start with example number 3. Alright, so with example 3, we have two equations that y equals x squared minus 5x plus 7 and y equals 2x plus 1. So again, what you want to do is set these two equations equal to each other. So 2x plus 1 equals x squared minus 5x plus 7. After this, you want to isolate this variable and bring it to this side of the equation. So what you do is subtract negative 2x from both sides and then subtract 1. So you will subtract negative 2x minus 1 to this side, and what you're left with is x squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. Alright, so then you rewrite the equation negative 7 as negative x minus 6x as x squared minus x minus 6x plus 6 equals to 0. Okay, so with this, you you divide by the greatest common factor of each term. So x squared minus x, and you divide that by x, and you're left with x parentheses x minus 1. And then for this one, you divide by 6, so you're left with x plus x minus 6. So both of your x's are going to be x equals 1, x equals 6. Now, what you do is you plug in these x's for one of these equations right here. So y equals 2, parentheses, 1 from this x, close parentheses, plus 1 equals 3. And now you plug in the 6 to find out your exponent. So y equals 2 times 6 plus 1 is equal to 13. And these two are your 2 points of solutions.